Hello, I'm back. Welcome to the HudUniGames cast, number 12. Coming to you from our home offices yet again. I think this may be a regular thing. I'm joined today by Matt.
Hello.
And Daryl and Mick, and we're going to go through a couple of our final year team project games today. So quite exciting. So let's run the intro. So the keen-eyed amongst you may have noticed a new intro. It's been hard at work. So we've got, as I say, we're going to look at two of the games from the Team Project module. So this is a module that runs all year long, and they develop the games in 3 game jams, and then in between that time, there's some weekly sessions as well. So it's pretty intense, 3-week sessions, and then it's those slower refinement and getting feedback sessions as the time goes on. We're going to invite some of the teams in to have a chat about their game, and we're hopefully going to play them, fingers crossed. And hopefully I won't be rubbish this week, but there's no guarantee of that.
I think there's a big guarantee that you'll be rubbish.
Yeah. I think
we are also relying on some pretty new technology to us.
We are. I don't know if any of you we should promote Parsec. It's some software that we're trying, which is going to allow successfully, I might add, Matt, Mick, and Daryl to send their Xbox controllers to my machine, and that's how we're going to play one of the games. So it's a 4-player local game. But before that, should we play? Before all of that, sorry, we've got to do our little what's on the box. I almost forgot.
Yeah, our weekly
what's on the box
that seems to be doing well.
Yeah. So I've switched away from the Twitch stream, so somebody shouts if we've got any questions popping up as we go. Prefer the intro 100,000%. That's pretty cool. So let's move on to, we're going to look at those as our 2 games. What's on the box? I think we all know what this is. We will each read out our box text, or I'll let you guys read it and then have a little guess of what it is. And let's see how we go.
Remember to click the left-hand side of the screen, not the right-hand side. That's the key part there.
Oh, is it? Exactly. Well, yeah. I wasn't here last week, so
yeah. So I'm reminding you before you click the wrong thing.
Fingers crossed. I've got the timer ready for 30 seconds.
I think what I need to do, I need to make a little jingle intro for what's on the box.
A little jingly one. Yeah. Okay. So right, what's in the box? So there we know. I think we all know how this works. So loading.
What
I've not seen loading before. Can you load a Google slide? Oh. I think we're missing my box.
Maybe you need to go back to present.
Tried that. I just get loading. Okay, well I'll do it from here, from this view, and then I'll move on to Daryl's because that one works. I can just use the control thing to move it backwards and forwards. So what's on my box is, there we go. That's the text.
So you have to read that out because no one can read that.
Is that a bit small? Okay. Mission briefing. Sources indicate that a rival something has developed a dangerous new computer program, and our research boys want it. Construct company agents using an awesome array of cybernetic implants and high-tech weaponry. Emphasize action, strategy, or a lethal mix of the two. Infiltrate 50 remarkably detailed futuristic cities, each alive in real time. Expect maximum resistance. Any thoughts? Or timer? I've got 30-second timer on just in case.
I'm thinking maybe it's some kind of RTS or strategy game, maybe something like...
I'm thinking Syndicate or Syndicate Wars.
Yeah, something like that.
Do I tell you if anybody gets it right?
I'm going to...
Or are we waiting until the end?
Let me have a Twitch chat. Anyone got it? Ooh, Deus Ex.
Yeah, and there's a Fallout option as well.
Is Matt echoing on else's machine? Is it just me?
Oh, there we go. The timer's up for 30 seconds. Tony Coops. Is that old Tony from years ago, Tony? Anyway, he's asking when did the Twitch budget go up? It didn't. Matt's just amazing.
It's Anthony Cooper.
Oh, yeah, not Tony. Old Tony. Right, okay. Yeah, Twitch budget is Matt. You may also notice he's using a lookup table. I might try that myself.
Really cheap webcam with a LUT on it.
It's looking good though.
10 times better.
Might do that myself. Anyway, so go on. 30 seconds is up. Give me some suggestions.
Oh, it's got to be an RTS. I'm going to go or a strategy game. And
will it help if you have a year?
go on, then give us a year.
1993.
Ooh,
I played this so much.
Syndicate.
Syndicate 93. It's got to be something like
either
that.
Syndicate or Syndicate Wars. Yeah.
Yeah, go on. I'm going to go with making double that one up.
Carol?
I'll go with that. I'd go with that.
Oh, can't get it to render. But you're right.
Is that what's loading your image?
Oh, technology.
Yeah.
What have you done?
It's
Copied a trillion pixels in there somewhere.
It's failing somewhere along the...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's gone. I'm going to just right click and bring to front. Even it's hiding somewhere behind this. Never mind. You'll just have to imagine that it says there's an image of Syndicate. Yeah, fantastic game. It was a brilliant game, Syndicate. Okay, we'll keep going.
Okay.
Instead of loading, let's go to what's on Daryl's box.
Okay.
I have to blow this up so I can actually read it from. Is this going to work?
Oh, I should say thanks, Gary. Yes, I did get a new PC, but also I appear to have broken Google Slides.
Is this going to work?
I don't know. Oh, sorry, I have to click it on. There we go.
Hey, something that actually works. Okay.
That's because you didn't do your Google Slides in the last 30 seconds.
A civil war has shattered the friendship of 3 fellow officers. Now each must decide where loyalty truly lies, with family, faction, or the fate of mankind. Choose your side and suit up with UEF, Illuminate, or Cyber Enforcers to command your own army of super soldiers and massive machines. The strategic and moral choices you make will determine the course of the war.
Yeah, it's got to be Total Annihilation.
Duke?
It's not Total Annihilation, is it?
I'm not saying anything at this stage. Put a timer on.
It's the United Earth... Oh, sorry, yeah. It's the United Earth Force, isn't it? And then Illuminate or Cyber. Isn't that one of the later... one of the Command and Conquers, like
is it Supreme,
3?
Supreme Commander?
As soon as I saw the 3 different factions...
Are there 3 in Total Annihilation? Are there 3 factions?
And he kept trying to get us to play it yesterday as well.
He did, yeah.
At which point, just not to give any clues away, but at which point you would have realised that it's core versus arm in Total Annihilation.
It is, yeah. It's only 2, yeah. Core and arm, yeah. Oh, there's the timer's just gone. Oh, it's this. Yes. Oh, I know it, but I'm sure it's one of the
Jordan's guess. I'm changing my guess to match Jordan because he seems to know.
Supreme Commander. Yeah, probably. Or Supreme Commander 2. 2 was better than 1 anyway.
Go on, click it then, Duke.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I forgot I'm driving on there. 2 was better. 1 was appalling. One was shocking. They changed the whole way. Yeah, they changed the whole way it worked, and then in 2 they went back towards TA, didn't they? So it was way better. Although
I think cribbing off the Discord is not particular. Not Discord off the chat is not particularly great, is it?
Yeah. It is, because I wouldn't get it otherwise.
Okay, play it that way.
You also left your ICO box from last week there.
Yeah, underneath.
Did I?
So is that Daryl failing at Google Slides as well? We're not going well, are we? Okay, so what's on Mixbox? Are you ready, Mick, for the reveal?
Yeah. All right, so welcome to the most compelling online fantasy world ever created. Journey to the world of North, a world populated with characters of amazing strength and power. Join thousands of people online and face unbelievable challenges and rewards in your quest for dominance and survival. You're in our world now.
It's got to be WoW, isn't it?
I don't know. It's not WoW, or is it Everquest?
What was that? Yeah. What was that one? Yeah, it probably is. Yeah, because that was the one he's been going on about, right?
Yeah. Everquest or WoW. Let's see if anybody else said it.
Yeah,
One's better.
Knowing Mick, it's going to be Everquest, right?
Jordan says Supreme Commander 1 is better than 2. I think if you play 1 first, probably. But if you play Total Annihilation first, definitely not. But anyway, timer.
I'm going Everquest.
I'm going
when that Supreme Commander actually developed by the guy that did Total Annihilation?
I think the second one was. The first one wasn't. Yeah. I think that's where it went wrong, because they changed the whole way it worked in 1, and then for 2 they got the TA guys in, who then went on for Planetary Annihilation. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm going WoW. I'll go WoW.
I'm going Everquest.
Click it then, Duke. Let's find out.
Oh yeah, sorry. I keep forgetting I'm driving. Oh, that's who I wanted.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
I went WoW. I failed. Okay, so Matt's box. Oh, timer went. So you're on your map. Yours popped straight up. I didn't click anything.
Okay, so I'm going to go and read this. So, hunt your nightmares. Face your fears as you search for answers in the ancient city of name. Now cursed with a strange endemic illness spreading through the streets like wildfire. Danger, death, and madness lurk around every corner of this dark and horrific world, and you must discover its darkest secrets in order to survive. It's not with thematically relevant in today's world.
It's not. The one where there's like 6 films with Mila Jovovich, whatever she's called.
Resident Evil.
That's the one. It's not a Resident Evil thing, is it? No. Is it Mila Jovovich? Anyway, well, you know what I mean, the actress. Okay, it's a strange.
I've got that just described uni campus at night.
Resident Evil, yeah, that's what.
No. The clue, I'll give you a clue. The very first line gives it away if you know the game.
What, Hunt Your Nightmares?
Yeah.
See, when I first read Hunt Your Nightmares, I was thinking like Amnesia Dark Descent.
Well, I was thinking Monster Hunter, but I've not played it. But
I've not played Monster Hunter.
Has it even come in a box? That's the.
I'm thinking something along the lines of Call of Cthulhu.
Ooh, Mick, you're getting closer there with that.
Gary suggests Nightmare Hunters. I'm not sure if that's a parody game based on the title.
No, it's a relatively modern title.
Ooh.
It's on PS4.
Oh, it's not that zombie one, is it? The exclusive to PlayStation. Can't remember what it's called. The one with the amazing flow physics on the zombies. Oh, it's not World War Z, is it?
No, I know what you mean. No,
it's Ancient City. No.
Oh, I think I know what it is, but I can't remember the name of it. I was playing it a couple of weeks ago.
That's even worse.
That is bad.
I have got to.
Go on. Final guesses.
I forgot to do the timer. No idea.
Mix. It's on the tip of Mick's tongue. I can tell. Go on, reveal.
Blood-Borne. Somebody said that.
No,
Gary said
I
it.
thought it was.
Well done, Gary. Blood-Borne.
Yeah, so you play as nightmare hunters in the game. Well, actually,
Cool.
It's old hunters, but still.
I don't know if I've ever heard of that. Is it PlayStation exclusive?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be why.
I think if we're keeping score, Gary's got more than everybody else that all the time we've been playing. This is usually right.
Yeah, but he's also got Google.
There is that.
So, right, let's move on to playing the games from Finally a Team Project. There's actually about 6 of these.
Are we going to bring Ollie?
Yeah, I was going to bring. I'll bring them in a minute. I was
So-
just going to say that we've got. It's worth mentioning. I think that there are about 6 games in total. I know we're doing 2 today, but is it 6 or 8? I can't remember.
There are 6.
6 games, yeah. So just so everyone knows, over the next few weeks, not next week, but on and off, I think we're going to try and play all of them if we can. So there's just 2 today, though. Otherwise it'll take too long.
Yeah.
Sorry, Matt, you were going to say something.
I was going to say, so we're going to start off with Regal Mortis. So we'll cut to a screen and bring everyone in, and then we'll come back and play it in a minute.
Let's hope that this works. Which should be able to see all of us. Hopefully that worked and nothing fell apart.
I'm watching the Twitch stream. It's quite exciting.
Look at that production value
there.
That's incredible.
As Anthony even said. Budget. No budget. just a very, very big brain inside Matt's head. So welcome, Oliver and Alex. Can we just do an audio test? Can we hear you?
Yeah. This is
Cool.
me speaking.
Excellent.
Can you hear
Cool.
us?
Yes, thank you. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about Regal Mortis before we jump in?
I'll take this one. It's all right, Oliver. Kind of funny coincidence that you brought up Blood-Borne as the last one there, because that was actually a visual reference to the game. It's a turn-based strategy game in a Gothic Victorian setting where you play as a necromancer, and you have to choose how to spend your army points to overcome scenarios. Yeah. It's
Cool.
really rubbish story of it, but
Okay. Anything you want to add, Oliver, or is that covering it?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Sort of our main games we were looking at doing something a little bit like XCOM and the Fire Emblem series, and yeah, that's our game basically.
So I'm quite looking forward to this one because I played it in quite a lot in an early build. Ollie sent me a build over and I played it to death. So I'm intrigued to see how it's progressed since then. And I know, Mick, you played it a lot last night to try and get familiar with the controls and stuff, but it might be Duke playing on this.
We're gonna see what happens.
So this could be some terrible gameplay we're about to see.
But shocking.
That's just cruel.
I'll have you know that I am absolutely, terrible at some game.
So are we testing whether Mick can take control, or are we just going straight in with you?
We can try that. Mick, do you want to give it a shot? I'll just turn on your keyboard and your mouse and give you power. You should be able to control that game.
Yeah, it's tiny though on the thing, so I might not be very good at this.
On Zoom, if you set me to set this window to be the, if you pin it, you should be able to see it.
Yeah, right click and pin.
Yeah.
Duke.
No, it's not letting me do that. I'll just have to try and. Oh, where's my mask on?
There you go.
It is. Right, okay.
So if you want to tell us what's going on, Alex or Oliver.
Yeah.
Who's this girl on the left and things like that?
The girl is the player character, and as someone pointed out with the skirt clipping, that was sort of a placeholder menu that we never got around to actually replacing, because it was kind of low priority. So right now we're on the army select screen. So as you see in the top right, he's got a certain amount of points. Each unit costs a certain amount of points. Objective for this one, I believe it's displayed in the top left. Yeah, it is. So this one, his only goal is to kill the enemy necromancer,
who is the sort of horned skeleton-looking guy at the end.
He's over there and somewhere. Yeah.
Yep. Right at the end.
There, yep.
So it's very XCOM inspired, isn't it, in terms of its movement system?
XCOM and Fire Emblem are the two big influences.
So from what I understand, the blue movement is you can move and then you've still got points left to attack as well. Yeah. If you move into the red stuff or the purple stuff, you don't have the points left to attack. Yeah.
When I played this, can you attack first and then move? Because I think when I did it, I made a mistake.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
No.
Yeah. So effectively, you've got either one move, one attack, then move, or just move, and that's it. So we wanted to try and keep it so that you can do hit and run tactics if you set yourself up right, as well as sort of just running straight into the fray.
Yeah. See, there's a bit of clutter on the UI because one thing, the versus unit placeholder, that should be showing a stat block for the unit that you're clicking on at the moment, but that never got put in time. And the left was a mini map, but that was causing the game to slow down horribly, so we had to take it out.
Mini map was causing slowdown.
Yeah. Well, how were you rendering that?
Were you rendering the whole world again?
Yeah, basically we had a second camera just floating above everything else, and then some artifacts which could only be viewed by that camera to approximate a minimap. And yes, Sonny, a lot of the game is spaghetti code.
It's worth mentioning, though, I think, with team project modules like this, that often it's about making it work. This isn't AAA release or even a release title, is it? It's just, particularly with the game jam element, it's a case of just make it work so that we can test out design ideas or movement like the mechanics of the game, rather than worrying about is the code efficient. That would come later.
So
if
there's
time.
A lot of interesting things code-wise going on, and just in terms of sort of having the AI and things like that, just in terms of getting units to move across the map and figure out exactly what they're doing.
I was wondering about that. Can you tell us a bit about the AI? Because when I played, there was nothing. It wasn't obvious what they were doing. Are they just picking the nearest character, or are they making decisions like, is there somebody slightly further away but weaker, or anything like that?
So first thing is they'll try and figure out exactly if they're able to get to something they can stab in range. So if they've got a collection of attacks that they can use, and it'll just sort of decide, this is my longest range attack. Can I hit something with it, or can I move to a position where I can hit something with it? It'll move to an ideal position and then sort of assess, here's everything in the area I can hit, what's the most damage I can do. So it looks at character health totals and sort of area of effects if implemented, and just sort of see what's the most damage I can do this action.
So it's a case of looking, so it pre-looks in every available square it can move to and does a calculation on potential damage and then picks the highest one?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Okay. It's nicely themed, like in terms of we just spoke about the art, the code. Let's have a quick chat about the art and the design, and the animation, because I know Alex did quite a lot of the animation in this. So,
I did all the animations.
And all the UI.
Yeah. So the characters, the environments, it's all consistent, which is good. What was the main influences then for your art styles?
Starting off point, the main influence was Alice Madness Returns for the sort of stylized Victorian Gothic look. Originally, we actually had a bit more of a steampunk aesthetic with the game, but that we sort of pushed that aside after the first game jam because we were realizing it was just cluttering up the design a bit too much with how far zoomed back it was. Yeah, so then that's me. And the other big influence was just trying to make sure you could see everything at a distance, which was a running issue we had because,
I think one thing you just if we're talking just the overall aesthetic, I think the way you work together as a team is really great. I think the fact that you've got you've got one person that's responsible for all of the 3D assets that you see on screen, one person that's responsible for all of the VFX, and one person that's responsible for the HUD and UI and all that sort of stuff really does benefit it because it's all therefore consistent throughout.
Yeah. I did a great job with
each of you really played to your strengths. There's some great work on display, and the fact that it is just the three of you, and you had all the animation and some of the gameplay stuff to develop as well. It's come together amazingly well.
I think as we're talking here, we keep mentioning the game jams, and so anyone that's watching this later on YouTube that doesn't know how the game jams ran for the final years, essentially is that these games were made in sort of sprints. So they'd have a 1 week game jam where they would all come together 9 till 5, and they'd make a huge amount of progress in a week. And then in between those game jams, there would be some iterative development and some design decision discussions and planning for the next jam. And then in the next one, they'd make big leap forward. So essentially, this is 3 single weeks of extreme progress with iterative development in between. So what you're looking at is not a solid year's worth of work. It's essentially 3 solid weeks plus extra.
It's 3 prototypes in together, standing on each other's shoulders in a trench coat, pretending to be a real game.
Yeah. Just to clarify what Matt's saying there, I mean, the final year of a degree is essentially 6 months, and this fills up two of those 6 months. So there's in total somewhere approaching sort of 8 weeks worth of work in the whole thing. But 3 of those weeks been really intensive sprints.
Mick, if I could have my mouse back for a moment, Mick, I'm just going to turn the audio on and we'll see if it's. I've turned it off to start with to see, make sure it wasn't too intrusive. But let's try turning it up a little bit, see what happens. We should just have a little hint of audio now. There you go. You carry on playing, just to give you an idea of the audio that's playing. I just didn't want to interrupt you in the conversation to begin with.
It's very odd having the audio from the Twitch stream coming in 3 minutes.
Oh yeah, it's only coming
3 seconds later.
Right.
Yeah, we can't listen to that.
Yeah, the audio had a fortunate chance encounter with some people from the music course and talked to them, and they volunteered to make some music for it. Oliver, do we have the names of the people we had for this?
One of them was Olivia. I could probably dig them up actually, just get the full names down.
Olivia Clark, that's one of them.
There we go. It'll be in the Discord logs.
I mean, you could just check who has the Team Chanko role. I can't do that.
So you start with obviously the Necromancer has far more players than you started with.
Yes.
So how did you work on balancing to make sure that your 3-4 players could take on 8-9 players?
Well, one part which unfortunately we didn't get in time was different behaviors for different enemies. So the idea was that not every single enemy is going to rush you at the same time. Like some of them won't move until you get in range of them.
Okay.
So it gives you sort of breathing room, effectively. Think about how in a action film, in a fight scene, all the 8 thugs don't rush the hero at once. They sort of come in groups to make it a bit more manageable. It's
I think
basically
it was more of a question of testing and balance and how much of that you went through, or was it a bit more intuitive to begin with and hoping for the best, and it turned
bit
out
more
generally okay?
intuitive and theoretical. There's a lot of like in the design document. There's a lot of like arrows and stuff on the maps, whereas like figuring out roughly where the player should be at different points.
Okay.
The other main thing is just the fact that the player is smarter than the computer is, so you should be able, like, the odds should be against you in terms of numbers, because you know the only way to make an even fight between a human and a computer like this fair would be to make the AI cheat, which we didn't want to do.
Yeah. No, you say the player's smarter than the computer, but it's a good job I'm not playing.
I've lost control.
Have you? You're still in, apparently. Oh, hang on. Let go of the mouse a sec.
There's the joys of using online systems to try and play remotely.
Let's try that one. Now try. You drifted off the monitor. That's why you were changing things on a different screen.
It is quite tricky doing it on this small screen.
Oh, you're doing pretty well. It's pretty impressive.
But yeah.
As you say, for the fact that this game is running on my machine and you're sending
talking
commands.
about the balance and that, I think I played it 3 times before I got to win. So lost a couple of times, but then managed to win after I tried out different units and that.
It is a tricky final. There's a way to just cheese this level, I found, which never fixed that hole, but I don't think it's an intuitive idea that most people will try out on their first try. Should I say what it is?
No, don't say that, because what might be quite nice is to put this onto something like itch, so people could potentially play and have a go with. So you don't want to tell people how to cheat the system.
I know how to cheese this level like really easily.
We've been playing this level over and over again, looking for every little bug and feature which shouldn't quite be in there. So we found the optimal strategy for winning in the fewest number of turns, but that's very different to winning in the fewest, like with the most points as well.
Yeah.
Can I ask why things like the health meters, the damage, things of that nature are not camera facing cards and they're sort of in alignment with the characters?
That's your end, Oliver.
That is, well, that's my department. It's not my code.
I think we call that a feature that may need some tweaking.
Yeah, so that looks like it's an issue with the rotation of the canvas, which the health bars are actually attached to. So that's just not.
They could be done as sprites in Unity.
Yeah,
that might help.
We were thinking of that, but we just decided as the quick option would be just to whack a secondary canvas on with the real-world positioning of the units, and then just doing some quick maps to figure out where the canvas sliders should be.
So,
I mean, I've not spotted it quite yet, but it's entirely possible that you could get exactly side onto these things, and they would literally disappear. So,
yeah, there are some shots where Mick's managed to lose them. So, are we? Should we? Is there anything else we want to talk about on this one, or should we move on to the other games?
You're going to want to see the level editor, I think. So that's that's probably the other big feature of the game.
Okay, shall I take control for that one, Mick? Because I'm on the bigger screen. Okay, cool. Matt, was that what you were going to say?
No, I was going to say, what made you pick as a team a strategy game to do in a game jam format? Because there's a lot of back-end design work and code work to get something like this to work in the first place, and it doesn't usually lend itself to. It's a brave choice, and usually lend itself to a sort of a game jam format.
I'm just trying to cast my mind all the way back to the start of the year.
Also, can I add a follow-on to that question? I mean, this is part of the same question, really, but do you feel that you chose wisely now, in retrospect?
I would say yes, we did choose wisely in terms of going for a strategy game, because one of the reasons we went for something like this is just because everyone was sort of laying out what their strengths were, and coding-wise, we'd done sort of some similar stuff in terms of search algorithms and things like that before, so we had the tools to be able to take a map of a grid like in a strategy game and just traverse it quite quickly and have ways to implement the rudimentary AI. And then for our design team, we were sort of talking, and no one was particularly strong as an environment artist. So we thought this might be a way that we could make a game with as little environment as possible compared to something like a platformer or sort of some of the other genres of game we had as ideas. But a big component as well was that we did have the inspiration for the sort of necromancy feel and wanted to run with that. And we were trying to think sort of what genre best suited some necromancy level interaction. I think Alex is...
Can I just ask, do I just press generate here?
Yeah.
So that's getting the level started.
Yeah.
Another part of it was the aspect of trying to find a unique selling point for the game to start off with. We had some other ideas, but they were a bit less, unique, mostly because they're in genres that aren't played out. Turn-based strategy is a bit more niche for genre, so inherently it's a lot easier to get some USP there. An aspect, I think, the bit with the necromancy, the reason we were pushing that early is because we were having a discussion about, as a thematic selling point, playing as a bad guy and playing as a necromancer, that's pretty rare in games. Like, you got Overlord as playing as a bad guy, and that's pretty much it. So we were sort of aiming for that sort of style. Oh God, that's really bright.
I like Dungeon Keeper myself. That's nice.
Yeah. We had a few other ideas, but we just ended up settling on this one because it's one we could agree on, really.
Is that lamp broken, or is it supposed to be like that?
That lamp is
It's a feature.
significantly brighter just because the scene which the level editor is in doesn't have any world lighting attached to it.
Okay. So yeah, that makes sense.
That is the only source of light in that scene.
Once that's actually in the, I seem to remember once you have actually generated and you play the level, then it's fine.
Yeah.
So the level editor, that sort of initially started out as us just trying to get a tool for the designers to use to make it a bit easier for us to make levels. But then we sort of realized fairly quickly, it was like, well, if we're going to make it, if the program's going to make it dumbed down enough that we can use it, then honestly, anyone can probably use it. So it shifted into being an actual feature for the game. Although, unfortunately, that does mean, as you can see, the UI is a bit more scrappy for this one, because it was a bit of a late addition to the game.
It works quite well. There's some weirdness with when you're moving around, like pressing the buttons, or don't always make sense in terms of the edit and delete mode stuff. But
edit mode and delete mode, I think, are the confusing bits of the
UI.
UI.
But I think once you're used to it, it wouldn't. Is there a way to rotate the object? Oh yeah, I found it.
There is, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Q&E.
This entire level editor system was just made by one of our 3 programmers, and we just sort of gave him sort of the space to do it, and this is what he came back with, and it's probably one of our biggest features for the whole game.
Yeah, that works well. I mean, yeah, it's slightly weird, but very, very. I mean, that's the first time I tried it, and I know I made a mess, but I'm getting used to it very quickly in terms of the using of it. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think this is something we started just before Game Jam 3 in terms of actual implementation, so it's not had as much time sort of being tested, played with, and iterated on. So this is probably the newest feature, but also one of the most prominent ones, which we're hoping to finish off for the rest of the game.
Okay. So for any second years that are watching and will be watching this, what was one of the hurdles that you came across during the development, and what advice would you give them so they don't do the same mistake?
This is a funny thing, because I know Oliver said otherwise, but an issue we had with this was the fact we didn't have an environment artist. So in terms of hurdles, I would say make sure when you're picking a game, think very carefully about everyone that you want, every sort of role that you're going to need for it. Also, you're not going to be able to play this level because you didn't put any deployment tiles down.
Oh yeah, I didn't do that.
That's meant by the edit tile features a bit.
That's still impressive. You can go and see what it's built, though. That's
yeah,
nice.
Yeah, I can see.
Can you go back and edit though?
We don't have a way of loading your custom stuff yet, but because of how this entire system works, it's literally just saving a file, and it's then just reloading it back into the editor. So it's within the realm of possible. It'll probably take us maybe a day or so to get it right.
I can't get back in, you mean?
No, not at the moment, but it's not too difficult for us to be able to do it.
Yeah, back on the advice thing. So it'd be think very carefully about what skills you've got, and also just try and get like a good balance of skills on your team. That's part of the way things did go well for us, is that we had a very good character artist who could also do pretty good environment art, fortunately, a VFX artist, and an animator. So it'd have been perfect if we'd just had that extra environment artist as well, because that would have really rounded us off. But so I think that'd be my advice, is like make sure you don't end up in a team where you have free character artists, or if you do something that having free character artists works well for, like I don't know what would be good for that, fighting game maybe. You know, you get what I mean.
Well, I think one of the things I said before, though, is that because you've only got one artist working at you, what you have got is a very
consistent art style.
Yeah. One of the main things that any prospective team needs to contemplate is, can they work in a unified art style? Will all the assets come together and look like they belong holistically in the same game? That's a big ask, you know. That's particularly when you've got something as well, not unique, but as intricate as the art style. But yeah, that's a good word. But, yeah, and you certainly, you know, this game is aesthetically consistent. The VFX and the artwork and the UI all come together, and they feel like they're part of the same game. So that's it's a solid plus point for you.
Cool. So well done on developing a really good game prototype for your team project, and hopefully it's a good demonstration to other year groups and stuff what you can produce in the final year team project. So next up, Duke, we're going to be attempting to try and do a local multiplayer game via online, which is going to be very interesting.
We are.
See if Will's been patient enough to sit in the waiting room for nearly 40 minutes. Yeah.
So
we'll
thanks for joining us, guys.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, and we'll say bye to
very short
Alex
notice as
and
well.
Ollie.
Thanks a
No
lot.
worries.
And we'll be right back in a moment.
See you later.
Run away.
Oh, he's going to get control.
He's got to get a controller back. So we are back again. I'm told that the transition there is quite loud, but well, apologies. We'll fix it for next week. Oh, there he is.
Timing well.
As if by magic. So I think we want to mention this game, Aztanks. Is that how you pronounce it?
Oh, I didn't realise we were live. Sorry.
You are live.
I went out to grab the controller just in case.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we're gonna try it and hope for the best. So, but is that right? Aztanks.
Yes, that's correct. So we tried to start making a game that was more scaled down in scope. The idea of adding stuff later rather than wrap, with a massive ass game and then possibly risking having to cut stuff down at the end. It should have a really tight, focused gameplay loop. Sorry. So we shall see if it's fun enough to play.
Well, let's start the game first, because the first challenge is making it work successfully.
Yes. So I believe the first player is Duke, correct?
Sorry?
Are you the first player? Player number one?
I will be. So the game is running now. I'll launch it. So my Xbox controller went to sleep. So let's see what happens. Come on, reconnect. There we go. I think we're up and running now.
Hey, there we go.
I'm not player one. I'm the shooter guy. So tell us a little bit about the game then. What's going on here?
So, I'm orange tank controller.
Our USP was to separate the control system between 4 people, even though you're actually operating the same. 2 people are operating the same asset. So the idea is that the control system will be completely different for 2 of you. We were thinking. I can't imagine why we thought this would have been a good thing, but we were planning on making it so that you didn't know who you were playing at first, and randomizing up the control so that you'd actually be a completely different person in a different level, and it would switch up at every level. But that was just confusing, so I'm not entirely sure why we wanted to do that. check that out.
Matt, do you want to try connecting again?
So I was just about to say, if anyone's wondering why the orange player isn't shooting, it seems to be
So
my controller doesn't seem to want to go through Parsec.
You're not connected at the moment. You're disconnected. I'll try that one again. So yeah, the software we're using is called Parsec.
In that case,
I don't know if anyone's used this, but it's a way of sending mouse, keyboard, Xbox controllers to another machine. So we're attempting, and Mick and Daryl are both sending their controllers through. And this worked yesterday. Actually, it works really well. Daryl is driving.
Yeah, I'm driving the blue one.
Oh, we're in. That's it. It's working.
Yeah, I can fire at things.
Yeah, and
I'm orange
Matt's,
gunner, I think.
And Matt, you're orange driver.
And I just killed him. Ha ha.
Trying to work out if
you're the driver, Matt, of orange.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Right, we're finally working. So, Will, what's going on?
Yes. So
speed up.
How many rounds did you say you played yesterday? Was it about?
I think we passed 60 at some point.
60. All right.
Yeah, we just kept
we
going.
Had a bad story of a play tester at the museum festival that we showcased the game at, playing about, I think it was 500 in the end. Rounds.
Wow.
He only stopped when his mum pulled him off and said, "We've got to go." So it seems to be fun enough to play for really long periods of time. Nice.
That was a draw.
Yeah, I think I mean, it's very. I think we've said before. We've seen this one in the past.
Good steering, Matt.
That it's a very playable game. You know,
I'm going to blame input lag through Parsec for that one.
Yeah.
Input lag, yeah.
So
what do we want to ask on this one? You've already talked a little bit about where it came from, the idea of a controller and a driver. One of the things we noticed was what if only 3 people are available to play? Is there any way to degrade gracefully, if you will, where it offers the ability to take control of both the driving and the shooting? Or rather, why
the fire range isn't very forgiving. That's another thing. There we go.
Yeah, no, I guess what I'm saying is why was that not an option?
We only really had one programmer at the time, so it took forever for him to come to separate the 2 input systems. I think we had to. I can't remember. I'm not familiar with how input works in UE4, but I think we tried using the inbuilt input system in UE4 and then had to go with, I think it's X input, which is something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard it's a nightmare to work with. So we would have then had to then recombine it in later. And I said we only had one programmer for the entire project, really. So it was a bit difficult.
And are there any more? I mean, the environments. I don't know how many environments there are. I've seen a few go around, but maybe 5 or 6 environments, I guess, something like that.
We had 2, but because I think one of the first things, and this is something we mentioned in the PowerPoint presentation for our final jam, was it was just too dark to see the majority of the game. Even it was a completely different scale and everything was much bigger. It was really hard to see, so we switched everything up to more of an Egyptian-y style. So everything was a bright orange, and it solved the problem with bright. It just wasn't. It didn't look nice at all. It was bright, so you could see utility. The utility was there. It just didn't look pleasant at all. So
I assume it's a modular build. I mean, I'm seeing the same assets over and over again. So I assume it's a modular system where you've just got an asset library and you're just dropping them in.
Yeah.
Are there just the 2 tanks available?
Well, I mean, it's the same tank with a different color scheme on, but it's just the one. Yeah.
That's the first time we've seen a shield.
Duke may have already asked this question. I was trying to concentrate on playing the game, but why is there no? Why is there no score counter?
That's one thing we noticed when we were playing it for a lot yesterday, is that we wanted to know who was winning. There's no overall score counter.
Yeah, there was a score counter actually. I think it's on another branch of the game that I don't have. I think it's on John's branch or one of the designer's branches. I didn't realize that they'd made it, and I made the swooping in text to say what round it was, thinking we kind of needed a round counter, at least something. I think they actually have made it. It's just we collided.
It's a playable game. It's just be nice to know who's in the lead.
Yeah,
I think what we have to assume there is that I'm in the lead.
Well, you're playing locally, so you've got no lag. Also, you haven't got Matt steering onto these spikes all the time.
Yeah, well, that's quite an interesting aspect, actually. Will, as Daryl alluded to there. Thanks, Mick, for that. That competitive play side of things. If I happen to be teamed up with Daryl, then I'm always going to lose.
Nice.
So that element of banter, I suppose. Did you have any problems in testing with people just being paired with somebody they just weren't? It wasn't going well. They were just rage quitting, or is it just? It's always just fun anyway.
We did have this issue. I've just noticed someone collided through a brick. Then I don't know if anyone noticed that.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, there were some collision issues. Yeah,
that's weird. That's never happened before.
Yeah, we were noticed when we were playing yesterday. If you drive dead on into a wall and keep driving, you can actually clip through it. So there is a
we did have that issue, and I swear I saw a kid man. I think that during the game festival, they drove into a wall on the side, and it clipped with a vine or something. And it went flying up, and I could never recreate it. So I just said, well, I'll remove collision from it and just hope that solves it, because I couldn't get it to break.
So you were telling us a little bit about the rage quitting and friends.
Oh, I've just not. Have you seen that? You can fire through the corners like you can in Gauntlet. I quite like that.
That's a feature.
Yeah, well, it is in Gauntlet, so why not in this? Yeah, cool.
So yeah, go on, Will. You were telling us about that side of things.
An older iteration had much thinner walls, which the barrel of the tank would actually clip through, so you could clip through it and then fire on the other side, because obviously it would spawn the bullet on the other side of the wall. So if you were clever enough, you could fire through walls. The tank would be half clipped through it. But
I think the fact that nobody is really talking said a lot about this game.
It does.
We're just the fact that we're like
this was happening yesterday. Is that
I know.
You end up just.
I'm struggling to think of questions.
Why I think the score counter would have been really important, because it does. It's that great competitive game where you just like want to instant satisfaction of beating someone and then going on to the next round and then beating them again. But unfortunately, there's no way of tracking it. So I think that's probably the biggest oversight, I would say, on this.
Yeah.
That was an interesting question. Why are the spikes instant kill rather than one heart? What was the thought process?
We thought about this, and we thought for an animation of it, you could land on the spikes and it would fire you up, but then it just looks weird, the spikes going straight through.
The tank to flash, though. If you made the tank flash, it's better than insta-kill. Insta-kill's it's pretty unforgiving. I mean, I'm trying not to shout at Matt for driving over spikes, but it's hard work.
I think it would have been difficult to die via the spikes if there were 3 kills, or if it had taken a heart away, because you wouldn't have been foolish enough to land on 3, one after the other.
That is true. I think the spikes and the blocks falling on you and things like that, it makes the rounds really quick. So maybe that is part of the mechanic of just keeping people going.
I do like the speed of the round. I think it's about right, actually. That
because
if you're hanging around in the same room too long, it becomes more of a strategy thought, slow moving. Like, I'll just creep around here. I'll try and get myself here. Whatever. This is very. It's very. Was it Wii Tanks? It's got that speed and fun element to it, but by having 4 players in only 2 tanks, just makes for something really interesting.
Whoever in the chat is saying that just by being on a team with Matt, it would make it hard work. Shame on you.
It's also correct.
Because if you don't know, my Parsec window isn't working, so I'm actually playing this through a delayed Zoom window.
Excuse.
Well, I don't know what's going on with Parsec. I'm playing 1/5 of the screen. I've got Duke's Zoom feed. Is my Parsec window, so God knows what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, actually saying some good stuff there, like some visual feedback on when you've been hit and things like that. Just to add to that sort of juiciness. I know we mentioned the word juiciness a lot in team projects and getting that feel right. And I think the core gameplay here is fun. You need a lot more juiciness back to the player.
You've got to make it a great
Yeah.
game.
We even had like an actual power up that would fire you back. So the idea of the visual feedback of being like pushed back or knocked over to one side after you were hit actually could have been quite easy for us, and it still could. I mean, I'm still on the fence on whether or not we will continue this or if I will continue this, but it's could do quite
I don't see
easily.
any reason you wouldn't.
I think you've got a really nice little prototype here to demonstrate. Like, it is fun. Like, we're still playing it. That's a good sign.
That's the stake it's in right now. I mean, with a little bit of extra polish. This is definitely a goer.
Turn the audio on now as well. So
I was about to say, each level has its own audio theme. So there's actually 13 different drum loops that goes on thanks to our music student. It's really nice.
Oh, me. Drove it off the end.
I'll do a shout out, why not? It's Thomas Orbs. I can't remember what his email is, but his company is Thomas Orbs Audio. And he's been doing it through EPY. In fact, that's where we met him.
I was going to look at this spot, man.
Yes, one of the beauties of EPY, isn't it? The fact that you're not just in with people from your own course as music students. I've seen people in there setting up like one I saw a few years ago was setting up like a knitting type company for the homes, maybe. But anyway, there's some really kind of what seemed to us is quite obscure, but obviously to them, gaming probably seems obscure. But I think there's some really great opportunities in EPY for collaborative work and kind of contracting each other for different skills. I think Torchbearer a few years ago they did some stuff, didn't they, where they were contracting out their programming skills. So it's a wonderful opportunity to work with other people.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Outside of the education context.
I can't be more of an advocate for EPY. It was a really good year, in fact.
Yeah.
Massive fan of it.
Yeah. For those that don't know what EPY is, it's the Enterprise Placement Year. It's basically instead of a normal placement year, you attempt to run your own business, and it's for those that are a little bit more entrepreneurial and want to attempt to try and make some kind of game dev studio of some variety. So we've had people that have been programming houses, we've had full game studios in the past, and a wide range of different people, and it's just a different experience than a normal placement or something like Canal Side.
Just to clarify, Will, you're not going to transfer the route at all with this?
I think we've missed the deadline. There was a very big reason, and I think it was just because no one else wanted to do it, so it would have been just me. And it's hard. Right. I've had difficulties trying to get teams in the past for Transfuser. It's possible, but it's extremely difficult to find people that
Ash has got some good suggestions.
Yeah, I like when the bullets collide. It's very like we use Daryl used the term Harry Potter.
It is. Yeah, that's what I thought it was. Yeah, it's the two Fox Phoenix ones, isn't it?
Anyway, we seem to be just playing. We're up to round 52 already.
Yeah, I think this is a really good advocate of a good game because we're sat here playing it, even when it's not low pro.
It's a shame. Yeah, we're in level S3 though, aren't we? That's the problem. That 5 looks far too much like an S.
I think for me, the thing that jumps out most about what you were just saying there, Matt, about what's important is this is a playable game. We're seeing the same tanks and the same assets round and round again, but at no point are we worried by that. We are engaged, completely engrossed in the game.
It's the heart of a decent arcade game, though, isn't it? I mean, you don't complain about it as long as the gameplay's there.
That's what I mean. I think a lot of team projects start off with something grand and visually awesome or huge storylines, and oftentimes I think just making a fun small title actually is going to be more successful.
I've had this issue in first year and second year as well. I can't remember if you remember our older games, but you just get caught up in the scale of everything. So the idea of cutting it all down and working on something actually to the point where it's actually more polished by the time you're finished. It's really good. It's the first time this has happened for me, so it was a good experience.
Yeah. So what would you? Go on, Duke. I was going to say, would you recommend then, Will, what I was just saying, to focus on something that's small and playable, and not necessarily worry? I mean, obviously, it would be nice if this had more tank options and more levels, more visual variety, and the rest of it. But would you agree that starting out with something that's just fun is going to? I'm thinking things like motivation of the team as the year goes on, and those kinds of aspects. If everybody's loving the game,
it's really good for final year because you have the jam-based system rather than just having it. You carry the project throughout the entire year. Because I think if you were to do something simple and work on it and expand on it, you would be susceptible to scope creep, I guess, quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But because it was hard to get stuck into that issue, because we just knew, well, we've only got one more jam, we can't really be adding more, big features and
Look at Duke cheating there, going through the wall.
I'm not driving. I'm the shooter.
Yeah, but
Mixed driving.
your collision detection needs literally to work here, Will.
Yeah, it was something custom actually because we couldn't get. I just saw it. I'm watching the stream on my laptop, so I'm about a minute behind or whatever. But I just saw what happened.
Anyway, before we sit here and play it all,
play like 100 levels
Put the
before.
controller down. I think
we'll finish up with the same question that we asked the last group, which was what was the biggest piece of advice you'd give to next year's lot coming through?
I think it would be what I mentioned is just starting off with something small and expanding on it slowly, rather than a big plan that you'll just risk not getting it even very close to being done. And, yeah,
cool. Yeah, that's some good advice. I think everyone should try and follow that sort of mentality out.
It's actually there in the assignment specification when we actually sort of tell the students what they're doing for this module. We're trying to sort of say you need to make sure that what you have is feature complete realistically at the end of the first jam, and then everything else is polish from there out. Unfortunately, like you say, most teams bite off a lot more than they can chew as far as getting everything really properly feature complete for that first jam. Another thing to mention, of course, is that we don't stop anyone coming in with pre-developed concepts, even some level of pre-developed code and a better first pass on the art assets. So, it's potentially possible that a lot of you are going to have a lot of free time on your hands over the summer. So if you are second years looking at final year team project, I'm module leader for this. If you contemplate who you think you'll work best with, and you've got concepts and ideas that you want to develop, then start thinking about that right away. There's no harm in that whatsoever, and we'll do everything we can to support you. Particularly if you come armed with something that's really clever and different and has great visuals as well. We're going to absolutely want to support that, and there's no harm in getting in touch with us early. I'll quite happily, someone wants to get in touch via Discord or whatever and show us what they're working on over the next couple of weeks and months. I'm quite happy to sort of give you feedback, and I'm sure I'm probably going to go out on a limb here and say for the rest of the team, everybody else will be supportive of that.
Absolutely,
yeah. There's some good comments coming in from the chat about making sure you document stuff and making sure everyone on the team reads the documents so they know what's on board. So that's some good advice, is when you're designing a game in a team environment and it's a little bit broken like it is at universities, that you're not working on it every day 9 to 5. Sometimes that message about what everyone's working on, what the aim is, can sometimes get lost. So documentation is really important.
And as Gary says there, be proactive, which is what Darryl was just saying. Get in touch with your ideas, build your teams.
There, does it? I mean, there's that whole thing of, Gary's a classic example of this, that being proactive in so much that you can develop a game on team project, but it doesn't have to be self-contained within team project. You can take whatever you've got and you can go external with that. There are plenty of opportunities. We've just been talking about Transfuser with Will there, but there are loads of opportunities to show off what you're working on externally. And it's really, what we should be aiming for as far as team project is concerned in general is having games that don't stop at the end of that, essentially 2 months of development, that students want to take these things further and believe in what they're doing. Yes, it's all well and good saying I want a job in the games industry, but to some degree being master of your own destiny at a point where it doesn't really matter. It's so difficult. We know quite a lot of people that have always wanted to run studios. Matt's going to start nodding at this, where they've said for years that they want to run a studio, but it means quitting that lucrative full-time secure job in order to do that. So, completing a game you developed as far as team project is concerned, at that point where you graduate, is probably really for a lot of people the only chance they're really going to have of taking that daring step and being their own boss and being masters of their own destiny.
Well, it's
It
going to
certainly
be
works out for Gary. I
much-
mean, Gary joins us every week for this stream, but he's lived that dream. He's had his studio and he's got games out there that he can be very proud of, and no one can ever take that away from you once you've achieved that.
It's going to be one of the only times as well in the students' careers and that where you have that almost risk-free chance to create something.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
so
and we have a
yeah.
transfuser hub as well. So if the university don't only support enterprise placement year, they support students. They give them the office space and they give them business support post graduation as well. So it's certainly something that you should consider. I found it a struggle to understand the mentality of people that think of it just as a module, because I know that I couldn't think that way if I was in their shoes. I would have to think about what sort of like the further outcomes could be, given the fact that you put all this effort in, and it is your sort of like major project throughout the entire degree. Where else do you get together for that duration and create something that's that complex as a team? You just don't. This is it. This is the pinnacle for the entire course, and it's a shame that so many of these games just stop abruptly when they're starting to get really, really good.
Should we let Will escape?
I was going to say thank you for joining us,
Yeah,
Will, and
thanks, Will.
showing off your game. And well, hopefully we'll see if you decide to continue it on in the future.
Yeah. No,
Thanks, Will. Right,
Yeah.
we'll just switch to the four of us for a moment.
Cheers. See you.
Ta-da! As if by magic, except the audio bit. We'll have to fix that. So I think it was quite interesting looking at those two games. I'm looking forward to the others as well.
Yeah, so I think what we're going to do, so that was 2 of the 6
Yeah.
over the coming weeks. We're going to hopefully invite other members from the other teams to come show off their games. One of the biggest hurdles that we're going to have to try and overcome for the other games, though, is similar to the Tanks one, is that most of the others have gone for LAN multiplayer, for Wibble Wobble and what was the office one called, Daryl?
Corporate Carnage.
Corporate Carnage. And
if anyone's watching from that team, I still think I'm waiting for the actual final build.
Yeah, so we'll try and work out the logistics of how to do local LAN player over the internet and then stream it via Twitch. But we're looking forward to playing those. Now they're going to be interspliced with. We're going to do a live stream on Flux 8 soon.
I was just going to say, as if by magic, the Flux 8 is now available for pre-order on the Nintendo Switch, which I have been playing, and is very cool. It actually launches on the 29th of May. So this has been ported by Torchbearer, who employed Matt, who worked on this originally for the studio when it was a PC build. And he's ported it with Torchbearer to the Switch, and it's now up for pre-order. Now they're going to join us. I don't know how many of Torchbearer are going to join us, or who from Torchbearer, but hopefully we're going to be able to compare PC versus Switch, and hopefully get them to talk a little bit about the challenges of porting to Switch, how it went, what it did, the challenges. How we saw some of those challenges as they were working on it, things like shaders being having to be changed and so on. So. They're going to be in on the 27th, so the 2 days before its release. Peter's asked, and we're also hopefully going to have a few keys to give away, a bit of a competition for that session as well. So it's going to be a brilliant one, I think, because we're going to get some knowledge about porting to Switch and the developing on the Switch, without any NDA stuff being broken, of course. But also a bit of a competition for those with a Switch to win a key for the game. which, as I say, is brilliant. Matt, you're playing it as well on your Switch. How far in are you?
Well, I've been probably about a third of the way through. I've just got the multiplayer stuff going on, but on the PC version, I actually played through it twice completely. It's a really fun little multiplayer game, little platformer game, I should say, which you can play multiplayer.
Yeah. So that's going to be exciting. I'm hoping we'll be able to plug the Switch in and actually stream live from the Switch. So you may have to not look at me for that day. I may have to turn my camera off. Have the Switch instead. So yeah, that's up for pre-order. What else have we got planned? I think some more talking about module submissions for final year, like Advanced Spheres and Prototyping 3.
Yeah, so we're gonna hopefully do several weeks of just showcasing student work and doing a little bit more of a celebration of what they managed to achieve over the course of the year.
Talking of celebration, are we going to do the virtual awards ceremony? I think once we've gone through the results and things like that.
Yeah, I think we'll wait for the awards, the end of year showcase, till, because obviously there's a lot of people at the moment that are putting together their work, and deadlines are a little bit woolly with in terms of COVID and stuff like that. So once all that's out the way, I will be working, and marking's out the way, I'll be working to try and put some trailers and stuff together for showcase.
I've just seen a comment from Sonny that Wibble Wobble Wabble is internet only. Not so much, Sonny, when you set up a VPN. We've solved that, the local network problem. So cool. Anything else we want to say before? I don't think there are any more questions coming in. Oh, they've just announced UE5. Really?
Oh,
what? Hey.
I've got UE4 to learn yet.
It's revealed today.
Wait, what? When did they announce UE? What?
Hey. Hang on, internet.
Living in the future.
I think Duke, you need to switch over to if they have, we switch over and do a live.
Live stream of their live stream.
105.
They have just announced it.
Oh, it's a teaser rather than an.
Is that why we've only got 29 viewers?
Oh, it's because of the PlayStation 5, isn't it? Nonsense. So they're trying to. I say nonsense because I'm not a console player. But feature highlights next. Oh, well, we need to talk about this.
Yeah, we probably do.
It's gorgeous. Imagine what it looked like on PC if that's PlayStation.
Or if it wasn't double streamed.
And yeah, if it wasn't double streamed. I mean, I think we need to look through this and look at some of the changes that they're bringing, and then we can have a proper stream and proper chat about what impact. Because I haven't looked at any of the technology behind this yet.
Maybe we throw together another stream talking about Unreal at some point.
What's this? Lecturers react? Is that what we're doing?
This is lecturers watch the. Oh my god! Look at the way they're following the light. It's gorgeous. Sorry. Right. Yeah, we should do.
I don't want to blow the Zoom stream up. Full screen.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll. I think we need to have a chat about this, don't we? About
very exciting moment there, live.
Straight after the stream.
Yeah. Live reacting, Gary said. Oh, that's exciting! Exciting.
So we're probably going to end the stream and then go and do a little research on what Unreal is. Unreal 5 is.
Yeah, we'll be like spend the rest of the day, the week now.
Game engine, isn't it?
Yeah. Do we need to do marking? Let's skip marking. Just look at Unreal 5. Okay. Anyway,
things to learn for next year's teaching. Sounds good.
Oh yeah. Or is it going to be out in time for me for my September teaching?
Yeah, it'll come out mid-August, just in time, and you'll break your brain.
Yeah. Oh, looking forward to that. Okay. Anyway, so thank you everyone for joining us on today's stream. Same again next week. See you later.
Thank you very much.